They shake your hand with a smile, but their other hand holds the knife. They call you brother, but only while you're useful. They cheer for your success until it threatens their own. No one says it out loud, but every man feels it. That vague unease around others. That twitch in the gut when something doesn't feel right. We call it paranoia. Machiavelli called it wisdom. Because the most dangerous lie we're taught is that people are inherently good. That friendships are unconditional. That if you show loyalty, you'll be rewarded with the same. But that's not how power works. That's not how human nature operates beneath the surface. Niccolo Machiavelli, a man feared and misunderstood, saw what most of us are too afraid to admit. That kindness is often a strategy. That loyalty is rented, not owned. And that in the game of power, no one is truly your friend. Look around you. Every relationship, every alliance, every smile you receive. It's not built on love. It's built on leverage. Even affection has an economy. Even intimacy has its price. People align with you because you serve a function in their world. Emotional, financial, social, or psychological. The moment that function ends, the illusion cracks. And that's when you see the truth. This isn't pessimism, it's liberation. Because once you understand this, deeply, emotionally, spiritually, you stop playing the fool. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. You stop investing in illusions. And you start playing the game like a strategist, not a pawn. You may feel alone, but that loneliness is clarity. And in that clarity, a new kind of power is born. One that doesn't need validation. One that sees through masks. One that walks alone, but walks with vision. So, if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, if you've ever wondered why people turn cold the moment you rise, if you've ever questioned the nature of your closest alliances, then this video isn't just for you. It's about you. Because what Machiavelli knew, and what few dare to confront, is that the path to true power begins with one terrifying, liberating realization. No one is your friend. And that's your greatest advantage. Loyalty is romanticized. We're told that good men are loyal, that real friends stick around no matter what, and that commitment is its own virtue. But Machiavelli saw something different. He saw that loyalty is never unconditional. It's transactional, temporary, contingent upon power, fear, or benefit. He warned rulers never to trust the affection of their subjects or the allegiance of their allies. Why? Because people are loyal to their needs, not to you. And once their needs change, so will their devotion. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present, he wrote. That line isn't just for kings and princes. It applies to every relationship you've ever had. Think of the people you've trusted most, the friends you swore would be there forever, the colleagues who praised your work when you were on their level, the romantic partner who once couldn't imagine life without you. How many of them faded when you started changing? How many turned silent when you needed them loudest? We tell ourselves stories to survive this truth. He's just busy. She's going through something. They didn't mean to hurt me. But the truth is rarely so soft. People orbit what benefits them. And when your presence no longer feeds their ego, status, or security, they drift. Machiavelli didn't hate people. He just refused to lie about them. He saw the court of Florence not as a place of justice or honor, but as a theater of masks, where nobles praised each other in public, then plotted each other's ruin behind closed doors. And the more powerful you became, the more smiles you attracted, and the more daggers. That hasn't changed. In modern life, loyalty often disguises itself as friendship. But look closely. Does this person stand beside you because they believe in your soul, or because they find safety in your approval, status, or support? If you lost your influence tomorrow, would they still answer your call? This is not meant to embitter you. It's meant to awaken you. Because once you realize that loyalty is a strategy, not a virtue, you stop being manipulated by it. You stop mistaking convenience for character, and you start watching people with different eyes. You stop asking, why did they leave me? And instead ask, why was I useful to them? This is the first step in Machiavellian self-defense. Detach from the illusion that people are loyal to you. They are loyal to their vision of you, their needs, their fantasies, their self-interest. And when that illusion no longer serves them, so too will your bond dissolve. So what do? You stop selling loyalty in exchange for validation. You stop sacrificing yourself for people who see you as an asset. You build alliances, not attachments. You lead with value, not dependence. Machiavelli understood that a wise man moves through life like a chess master, not emotionally reactive, but strategically observant. He doesn't hate the other pieces. He just knows their function. And so should you. This doesn't mean abandoning love, friendship, or community. It means removing the blindfold, seeing people as they are, not as you wish them to be. Because in a world of masks, the rarest form of power is not manipulation. It's clarity. Let's take it deeper. Have you noticed how quickly people switch sides in times of crisis? One wrong word, one misunderstood post, one shift in status. And suddenly the people who loved you are gone, silent, or worse, against you. This isn't betrayal. This is human nature under pressure. Machiavelli advised princes to maintain power not through love, but through calculated fear. Because he knew that fear is more predictable than affection. Fear stays loyal even when love fades. In other words, people are more reliable when they need something from you than when they like you. It's harsh, but it's liberating. Because once you grasp this, you stop bleeding for fair-weather friends. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And most of all, you stop being surprised when loyalty evaporates the moment you're no longer beneficial. You begin moving like a tactician, kind but not naive, open but not blind, generous but not exploitable. This is the first law of Machiavellian power. Don't depend on loyalty, understand its expiration date. No one is your friend, not in the way you might hope. But once you accept that, really accept it, you gain the most dangerous advantage of all. Independence from illusion. We grow up believing that kindness is a virtue, a universal good. That if you're nice, people will treat you well in return. That being soft, accommodating, and likable will open doors and earn respect. But Machiavelli knew otherwise. He knew that kindness, when not wielded strategically, is often mistaken for weakness. He knew that in the theater of power, niceness is not admired. It's exploited. This is not a call to be cruel. It's a warning. If your goodness isn't paired with strength, it becomes your leash. We've all seen this play out. The man who bends over backwards to please others, always agreeable, always saying yes. He thinks he's being noble. He thinks he's earning love. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. People begin to see him as harmless, predictable, replaceable. They start to expect his compliance. They test his boundaries. They laugh at his silence. And the more he tries to please, the more invisible he becomes. Machiavelli would call this a fatal flaw, because it hands your power over to those who care least about you. When you lead with niceness, hoping it will protect you, you become a tool. A stepping stone, a shadow people forget once they're done with you. But when you lead with presence, a quiet, unshakable sense of strength, you command attention, respect, fear even. Machiavelli argued that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, not because fear is cruel, but because fear creates distance, respect, boundaries. Love, on the other hand, invites exploitation. Especially in a world where most people think in terms of advantage, not virtue. And that's the cold truth. People often mistake kindness for naivety. They read softness as submission, and unless you know how to balance empathy with authority, they will walk over you, then resent you when you stand up. So how do you escape this trap? You must learn to master what Machiavelli called appearance. To be kind when it serves you, cold when it protects you, generous when it strengthens your position, and ruthless when survival demands it. This doesn't mean living inauthentically. It means recognizing that in a world full of manipulators, transparency is a liability. The man who exposes his heart to everyone ends up betrayed. The man who reveals his strategy gets sabotaged. The man who pleads for approval never earns it. Niceness without strategy is a sheep wandering into a wolf's den. Let's go deeper. Why does kindness often attract abuse? Because many people are testing the boundaries of every person they meet. Subconsciously or not, they push, they poke, they press, looking for where the line is drawn. And if you never draw that line, they conclude that none exists. They don't say it aloud, but inside they think, this person won't stop me. This person fears confrontation. I can take more. And they will. Not because they're evil, but because people respond to what you tolerate. If you let someone talk over you, they'll keep doing it. If you always give more than you receive, they'll expect it. If you never say no, you're not seen as generous. You're seen as weak. Niceness becomes a cage, one you built for yourself. So what would Machiavelli advise? He'd tell you to keep your kindness, but weaponize it. Let it be a strategy, not a default setting. Give only to those who respect the value of your gift. Speak softly, but know when to use silence as power. Help others, but never at the expense of your dignity. And most importantly, be unpredictable. Machiavelli believed unpredictability is one of the most powerful forms of protection. When people can't guess how you'll respond, when they're unsure whether your smile hides steel, they tread carefully. They respect your space. But if you always respond with passivity, you become a script they've already memorized. A puppet whose strings they can pull without effort. There's a dangerous myth that says being feared makes you evil, that strength and kindness can't coexist. But that's a lie told by people who fear losing control over you. True power lies in being both. A man who can be kind, but isn't afraid to be feared. A man who leads with heart, but never bows for scraps. A man who smiles, but not to be liked. This is how you escape the trap of niceness, not by becoming cruel, but by becoming sovereign. So remember this, your kindness should be a gift, not an obligation. Your empathy should be chosen, not expected. And your approval should be earned, never assumed. Because when kindness is paired with strength, it becomes divine. But when kindness is all you are, it becomes your prison. Betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people you once laughed with, trusted, and protected. And that's what makes it so devastating. It doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like a slow poison, hidden behind a familiar smile. Machiavelli understood something that most people refuse to accept. Loyalty is not eternal. It is conditional, fragile, and always negotiable. The idea that your friends, your partners, even your closest confidants could one day act against you is unsettling. But it is also the beginning of wisdom. Because once you understand the psychology of betrayal, you stop expecting unconditional loyalty and start building unbreakable strategy. Let's break it down. Human beings are opportunistic by nature. We are wired to seek comfort, security, validation, and power, and will often switch sides the moment another path offers a greater reward. We cloak this in morality, in ideals, in noble justifications. But at the root, it's simple. People follow advantage, and advantage changes. One day, you're the strongest player on the board, the one others orbit around. The next, someone else rises. More useful, more valuable, more threatening. And in that moment, loyalty shifts. Quietly, instinctively. That friend who once praised you begins to gossip behind your back. That ally who pledged eternal support stops returning your calls. That lover who said forever starts pulling away, eyes wandering to someone else. They don't betray you because you failed them. They betray you because they think they can gain more from someone else. And it doesn't matter how much history you share. In the world of power, history is just a memory, and people will rewrite it in a heartbeat if it serves their survival. Machiavelli warned, never trust in affection alone. He advised rulers, and by extension, anyone who holds influence, to assume betrayal is always a possibility. Not to become paranoid, but to remain prepared. The greatest mistake you can make is assuming loyalty is permanent. Because here's the truth. When your power fades, so does their loyalty. When your usefulness ends, so does their presence. When their envy rises, so does their desire to see you fall. This is not cynicism, it's psychological realism. We all carry shadows, hidden desires for dominance, recognition, revenge. Sometimes, even your closest friend harbors a quiet resentment, a jealousy they never speak aloud. They smile, support you, laugh with you. But underneath, they secretly hope you'll stumble. Not because they hate you, but because your light threatens their sense of worth. And if ever given the chance to elevate themselves by dimming you, many will take it. So what do? First, stop idealizing people. When you put others on a pedestal, you hand them power they didn't earn. When you expect purity, you ignore warning signs. When you assume loyalty, you stop watching carefully. Instead, watch people's behavior over time. Do they support you only when it's convenient? Do they speak differently about you in private? Do they compete with your success instead of celebrating it? These are not small signs. They are signals of future betrayal. Second, build leverage. Don't rely on emotional bonds alone. Build value that others need: skills, influence, resources. When you're indispensable, people think twice before turning on you, because betrayal becomes expensive. Machiavelli knew that true power lies not in sentiment, but in control. Not in being loved, but in being necessary. Third, don't retaliate emotionally. When betrayal happens, and it will, don't collapse. Don't beg. Don't seek closure. Understand it for what it is, a shift in the power dynamic. And then, move strategically. Withdraw, recalibrate, fortify. Don't let one traitor make you blind to the battlefield, because here's a chilling truth most never want to admit. Betrayal is part of life. You cannot avoid it. You can only prepare for it. So let me ask you this, and think deeply before answering. Who in your life benefits from your silence? Who in your circle would feel relieved if you failed? Who do you trust simply because it's easier than facing the truth? Pause and reflect. These aren't accusations. They are invitations to self-awareness. And if you've ever been betrayed before, share it in the comments. Tell your story, not for sympathy, but for strength. Because your pain holds power, and your scars are not weaknesses, they're armor. If you're watching this and still believe that loyalty is guaranteed, ask yourself this: if everything you offered disappeared tomorrow, who would stay? That is your answer. That is your truth. And if you've been walking through life expecting everyone to play fair, expecting people to repay your kindness with devotion, expecting friends to be friends when the power shifts, then you're not living in the real world. You're living in a dream Machiavelli warned us never to trust. You rise, and suddenly, the room grows quiet. Not out of reverence, not out of awe, but because your presence now reminds others of their smallness. Power isolates, not by choice, but by nature. And the higher you climb, the more you realize. No one claps when the king enters the room. They bow, or they scheme. Machiavelli understood this cruel paradox. He warned rulers to never grow dependent on affection, never seek comfort in public opinion, and never confuse proximity with loyalty. Because when you hold true power, not popularity, but actual influence, you lose something that most people spend their lives clinging to: the illusion of companionship. Let's be brutally honest. Most people want you to succeed, just not more than them. They'll support you until your light blinds them. They'll praise you until your strength threatens their position. They'll walk with you, but only if the road remains comfortable and familiar. But walk too far ahead, and you'll walk alone. That solitude is not a punishment. It's the natural gravity of power. Because to think independently, to act without needing permission, to carve your own path through a world built on conformity, is to become foreign to the masses. And the more sovereign you become, the more dangerous you appear. People don't envy what they understand. They envy what they can't control. And nothing is more terrifying to the average person than a man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't need them. Machiavelli advised princes to learn to be alone in their thoughts, because in solitude, clarity is born, and in clarity, strategy thrives. But let's not pretend it's easy. There's a coldness to sovereignty. It means walking without applause. It means making decisions that won't earn you praise. It means saying no when everyone expects a yes. It means losing people, not because you harm them, but because you stopped needing them. Here's the harsh truth. Most relationships are based on mutual need. Take away the need, and you take away the bond. Grow strong enough to not rely on anyone, and watch how many vanish. But understand this, that emptiness is sacred. Because in that silence, in that detachment from social craving, you discover the most powerful truth of all. You are enough. Not in a self-help, motivational poster kind of way, But in the Machiavellian sense, you possess within you the capacity to stand alone and still move the world. Solitude doesn't mean isolation. It means independence. It means becoming your own counsel. It means trusting your own instincts more than the crowd's opinions. When you no longer crave validation, manipulation loses its grip. When you no longer chase approval, freedom begins. And when you no longer fear being alone, you become ungovernable. This is why Machiavelli's prince often appears cold, even cruel, because warmth, though seductive, weakens the grip of clarity. And clarity is the weapon of the truly powerful. But be warned, many will try to shame you for this. They'll call you heartless, arrogant, aloof. They'll say you've changed, that you've lost yourself. But what you've lost is their leash. You've severed the invisible strings of social conditioning, the need to please, the need to be liked, the need to belong at all costs. And in doing so, you've become dangerous. Here's the paradox. Once you stop needing people, the right ones will find you. Not the ones who demand your weakness, but those who respect your strength. Not the ones who want to shape you, but those who value your sovereignty. So embrace the solitude. Don't fear it. Use it. Use it to sharpen your mind, to build unshakable discipline, to become someone who doesn't just survive betrayal and isolation, but thrives because of it. Because in this brutal game of power, there is only one guarantee. The man who walks alone walks faster. You've walked through the shadowed corridors of power with Machiavelli as your guide. You've learned that loyalty is often a mask worn by betrayal, that kindness can be a weapon, and that in the game of influence, you must expect to be alone. But this is not a tale of hopelessness or despair. It is a manual for sovereignty. At the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy lies one final, crucial insight. Trust is power, but it must be wielded like a double-edged sword. To survive, you must learn not only to discern who deserves your trust, but also to protect yourself from its dangers. Trust without strategy is weakness. Trust without self-preservation is surrender. Be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves, Machiavelli advised. This is your call to mastery, to see beyond appearances, to expect treachery, and yet still engage the world with strength and purpose. Trust, then, is not a leap into the abyss. It is a calculated offering. Ask yourself, who has proven themselves consistent, dependable? Whose interests align with yours in ways deeper than convenience? Who remains steady when storms arise? These are the few who deserve your trust. But even then, you hold it guarded, like a rare treasure, for trust, once broken, is almost impossible to reclaim. At the same time, self-preservation must be your unyielding priority. Your mind, reputation, and influence, these are your kingdom. They must be shielded fiercely. You do not reveal your plans to everyone. You do not expose your weaknesses casually. Every confession, every unveiled thought is ammunition for your adversaries. And yet, power demands balance. It is the dance between suspicion and openness, between generosity and restraint. Machiavelli's prince is not heartless, he is deliberate. He loves cautiously, trusts conditionally, and reveals selectively. This balance, the mastery of trust and self-preservation, is the crown of true sovereignty. This is the paradox of power. You must be vulnerable enough to connect, but guarded enough to survive. You must build alliances that serve mutual benefit, not blind loyalty. You must command respect through strength, not demand it through fear. For you, this means cultivating sharp awareness, reading beyond words to the intentions beneath. It means valuing yourself enough to refuse exploitation. It means the courage to sever ties that drain your strength, to let go of illusions that bind you, and to accept that not everyone will meet you as you meet them. The final and greatest lesson Machiavelli offers is this: you are your own strongest ally. No one else's loyalty is guaranteed. No one else's kindness is unconditional. No one else's love is forever. But your clarity, your strength, your strategy, these belong only to you. Guard them fiercely. Sharpen them endlessly. Use them to navigate a world that will never play fair. And now, a moment of reflection. Power is not the domain of the cruel or the ruthless. It is the mastery of reality. It is the courage to look into the abyss, to see the world without illusions, and to act anyway, with intention, with resolve, with uncompromising will. To know that no one is your friend is not to live in bitterness, but to live in freedom. Freedom from illusions, from dependence, from the shackles of false hope. This freedom allows you to stand, move, and conquer on your own terms. This is your call. Embrace this truth. Let it harden your spirit without turning it to stone. Walk the path of power with open eyes and a steady heart. Transform your loneliness into sovereignty, your isolation into strength, your awareness into mastery. Because in this world, the game will never be fair, but you can become a player who rewrites the rules. Like this video if you find strength in harsh truths. Share it with those brave enough to face reality. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your spirit sovereign.